In Colombia, a coal mine explosion claims 3 lives. Authorities report 4 miners are still trapped. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and U.S. President Joe Biden to hold bilateral meeting on May 1. Department of Foreign Affairs to begin repatriation of Filipinos in Sudan. Pag-asa warns heat index will reach 50 degrees Celsius tomorrow. United States seeks healthy economic ties with China. And Sudan Army rules out negotiations but demands rivals to surrender. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and United States President Joe Biden are set to meet in the White House on May the 1st. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre confirmed the meeting of the two leaders. Jean-Pierre says that during the bilateral meeting, President Biden will reaffirm America's ironclad commitment to the defense of the Philippines. The two leaders will also discuss efforts to strengthen the long-standing alliance between the U.S. and the Philippines, as well as promoting the economy and important issues for the interests of both countries. Jean-Pierre adds the meeting will review opportunities to deepen economic cooperation and promote inclusive prosperity, expand the two countries' special people-to-people ties, invest in the clean energy transition, and the fight against climate change. The statement also mentions discussion to ensure respect for human rights. The Philippine-U.S. relations continue to strengthen, especially with the additional locations for the implementation of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. As China opposes the deployment of some bases in northern Luzon as EDCA sites, the White House says that Marcos and Biden will discuss the issue in the region. The two countries will also strengthen their relationship in promoting international law and the promotion of an open and Indo-Pacific. The Department of Foreign Affairs announces the repatriation for Filipinos out of Sudan will begin next week. Vin Pasco files this report.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, confirms they will start repatriating Filipinos out of Sudan next week. Reporters say fighting between rival factions of Sudan's military has hit Khartoum and Darfur regions. DFA Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs Eduardo De Vega says repatriation of Filipinos will take time since airport transfers are not possible. He explains the repatriation should be done by land since Sudan's airport is not operational. Fresh records from DFA say almost 500 Filipinos in Sudan are affected by the armed conflict. The office also confirms 1 Filipino was hurt in Sudan. DFA says the injured Filipino is now in stable condition. Meanwhile, DFA is also urging Filipinos in Sudan to reach out to Philippine Embassy officials via the contact number +20 122 743 6472. They may also reach the DFA through the FEN-EGIP Facebook Messenger account. The Philippine Embassy vows to send them proper assistance. Vin Pasqua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Human smuggling and trafficking remains a headache for the Bureau of Immigration, or BOI. Stricter protocols will apply to those who will be coming in and going out of the country. BOI spokesperson Dana Sandoval says that their office continues to tackle the problem through coordination with other government agencies. Sandoval adds that the Bureau is reinforcing intelligence gathering, especially in provinces where victims are recruited. The spokesperson also clarifies that the Bureau's database is continuously being updated for the syndicates as well as those associated with corrupt practices in the agency. The Senate and the Department of Information and Communications Technology are investigating an alleged data breach in various government agencies. JD Mahinay tells us more.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, is now doubling efforts to trace the reported personal data leak in the records of the Philippine National Police, or PNP, and other branches of the government. DICT will seek the help of the Philippine National Computer Emergency Response Team, or NCERT, of the Cybersecurity Bureau. Last February 22, the Cybersecurity Bureau received an Azure blob storage containing ID samples, including Philippine National Police and National Bureau of Investigation clearances from a security researcher. NCERT reports the incident of the alleged breach occurred between March 3 and 23. The ICT considers the incident as a serious consideration and a great threat to the confidentiality, integrity, and privacy of data users. PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group, or ACG, is also investigating the data breach. According to the cybersecurity website VPN Mentor, about 817.54 gigabytes or about 1.3 million data leaks come from PNP, NBI, and other branches of the government. Meanwhile, Senator Ramon Bong Revilla says the breach is disturbing as sensitive data such as fingerprint scans, tax identification numbers, birth certificates, and passports are possibly stolen data that can be used for fraud. Revilla says data privacy and its protection is a national security interest that Congress needs to address to enforce existing laws. A statement from the National Privacy Commission, or NPC, shows some government agencies deny the occurrence of the data breach. Attorney John Henry of NAGA NPC says an on-site investigation will be done on the data processing system of PNP on April 24 while the cybersecurity researcher is being summoned. JD Mahinay for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Telecommunications companies have asked the government to extend the deadline for the SIM registration due to many mobile users' unwillingness to register despite the April 26 deadline. Smart Communications Incorporated and TNT announced their intention to file a formal letter of request to the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, and the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC. PLDT Smart First Vice President Kathy Young cites about 46% of their active mobile users have already registered their SIMs. Globe Telecom Incorporated joined the call for an extension as less than half of its active users have registered their SIM cards. The telcos states the absence of government IDs and a lack of digital literacy as their primary pitfall. According to the law, all SIM users have until April 26, 2023 to register their SIMs under their name or risk the deactivation of their numbers. Pag-asa says the heat index in Quezon City would likely reach 50 degrees Celsius. Carl Gonzaga has the details.
Pag-asa warns the heat index will likely reach 50 degrees Celsius, the highest so far since the dry season started in the country. The agency warns that the 50 degrees Celsius heat index will be felt tomorrow. Manila and Pasay residents will feel a peak of 42 degrees Celsius. Heat index indicates the level of discomfort a person can experience due to the combined effects of temperature and humidity. The weather agency also advises the public to take precautionary measures against the scorching heat. Pag-asa warns the public that the heat stroke is likely for people exposed to temperatures ranging from 42 to 52 degrees Celsius. Pag-asa explains temperatures of 52 degrees Celsius and above are classified under extreme danger levels. The Weather Bureau urges the public to limit outdoors activities and stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water. Carl Gonzaga for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
All hail Fair New Era as teachers, faculty, and students at New Era University College of Engineering and Architecture are in high spirits. They achieved a 100% passing rate in the Certified Plant Mechanics Licensure examination this February. According to the academic institution, 13 students took the licensure exam and all passed. The university congratulates the passers and honors them to serve as an inspiration to other students. The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, has announced that it is going to issue paper printed driver's licenses. This is due to the limited supply of plastic cards to the LTO branches. The agency confirms that its supply would run out by the end of the month, as some branches in Metro Manila already use paper to issue licenses. They will continue to use paper licenses until they have procured plastic cards. A timeline was not given as to when they would be able to issue plastic cards again, as the bidding process is yet to begin. Coming up, the United States seeks constructive and fair economic ties with China. Russia wraps up military drills in the Pacific. And UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to decide deputy's fate over bullying report. Stay tuned for more stories around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Handa na ba kayong makising along?
Kay hirap pala umibig sa di tamang panahon.
And Asia's Nightingale, Miss Ulani Misaluja is in the house! Wow! Multiplex Queen!
Bukas na lang kita
Pambansang awit, hindi ba? Ng mga mahihilig sa bidyoke.
Correct.
Hindi ka tumutuntong sa bangko para abutin yung mga nota, hindi gano'n?
Dilublub sa gasolina.
Ano bang nangyari kay Lani?
Sa ICU kami back to back. Nawala na ang hearing namin sa right ear namin.
And that's permanent?
It could be. Hindi ko alam, sintonado pala ako. I have to retake it 3 times.
Especially for a singer, pag ikaw ay nabingi,
Yes.
that's catastrophic. Nagdesisyon ka na ba? O
Sana
pindutin na ang makina ng videoke?
Sana mataas ang score ko. Wow.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Climatologists say a severe heat wave is sweeping across Asia. The unusually high temperature event has caused deaths and school closures in India. The heat wave also scored record-breaking temperatures in China. Some weather historians say Asia is experiencing the worst April heat wave in history. In China, local media reports record temperatures in Chengdu, Zhejiang, Nanjing, Hangzhou, and Yangtze River. Laos recorded 42.7 degrees Celsius this week. Thailand recorded 45.4 degrees Celsius. Temperatures rose above 30 degrees Celsius in Japan. Highly unusual temperatures have also been recorded in Central Asia, including in Kazakhstan. Bangladesh soared above degrees Celsius. A local official says if the heat did not abate, they would declare a temperature emergency in certain areas. Scientists say the heat wave is due to climate change and global warming. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the United States seeks a constructive and fair economic relationship with China, even as Washington holds firm in defending the country's national security. Yellen says the U.S. will continue to partner with its allies to respond to China's economic practices.
We remain the largest and most dynamic economy in the world. We also remain firm in our conviction to defend our values and national security. Within that context, we seek a constructive and fair economic relationship with China. Both countries need to be able to frankly discuss difficult issues, and we should work together when possible for the benefit of our countries and the world.
Sudan's military rules out negotiations with their rival paramilitary force, the former is saying they would only accept its surrender. Local reports say the government's statement may raise a renewed clash between rapid support forces. Sudan's medical system is on the verge of collapse as hospitals are forced to shut down due to the ongoing conflict. The 24-hour ceasefire also failed to stop the fighting, bringing only marginal calm to Khartoum. Many residents also took advantage to flee their homes. No reports yet if ceasefire will be extended. A U.S. travel writer and photographer tells about the chaotic and tense situation in Khartoum. From a rented room in the Sudanese capital, Lakshmi Partha Sarathi shares her fear with what might happen next.
Right now, the orders from the embassy are to shelter in place, but it's hard because power and water are out. This is where I've spent most of my time here in this Airbnb, but we've had to venture outside in order to find basic resources. People have been really, really kind and helpful to us. At the same time, people have been also getting more and more desperate. I went down to the market below just now to buy some food, and there was a huge fight breaking out. And, you know, as people get more and more desperate, then things get more and more tense. So people's access to resources is dwindling, and, you know, that's when things start turning for the worse.
Fighting between the forces of two rival generals shows no signs of abating. The United States is deploying forces to prepare for the possible evacuation of American embassy staff in Sudan. Department of State spokesperson Vedant Patel says they have full accountability of embassy personnel.
We're engaging in this from all corners of the department and continue to have full accountability of our personnel. You saw the Pentagon put out a statement earlier today that through U.S. Africa Command, they are monitoring the situation closely as well and conducting prudent planning for various contingencies. And as they said, they are deploying additional capabilities nearby to the region should circumstances.
The fighting erupted Saturday between forces loyal to Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo. Daglo commands the paramilitary rapid support forces. In Sudan, fighting between the forces of two rival generals show no signs of abating. More than 300 people have been killed since Saturday. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expresses his thoughts about the situation.
I am deeply concerned about the terrible toll on civilians, the appalling humanitarian situation, and the horrifying prospects of further escalation. Humanitarian operations are virtually impossible. Warehouses, vehicles, and other humanitarian assets have been attacked, looted, and seized. Targeting humanitarian workers and assets must end, and I remind all parties of their obligations under international law, including ensuring safety and security of humanitarian aid workers.
Guterres is concerned as well about the welfare of United Nations personnel. He says many of them are trapped in their homes in areas of active conflict. Russia wraps up snap Navy drills in the Pacific. The Russian Defense Ministry says the drills confirm its forces are ready to repel aggression during armed conflict at sea. The ministry says the forces are returning to their bases. These exercises took place in the Sea of Japan, the Sea of Okhotsk, and the Bering Sea. During the drills, the force part in the drills. Equipment included one guarantee of security for Ukraine, which he claims is supported by most people in NATO countries and the majority of Ukrainians. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says NATO's door remains open for Ukraine, adding future membership is possible. He adds Ukraine's rightful place is in NATO. Ukraine's membership will be discussed at a NATO summit in July. Russia says one of its fighter jets lost ammunition Thursday over the city of Belgorod near the Ukrainian border. The resulting explosion injured 2 people and left a huge crater in the city center. These images released by the governor of the region show the damage from the blast. One woman is being treated in hospital for a head injury. Another receives treatment at the scene. The crater is about 20 meters wide. Shockwaves from the explosion damaged 4 apartments, destroying their interiors. Residents of the apartments are being put up in hotels for the meantime. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will decide the fate of his deputy Dominic Raab after an investigation concluded Raab engaged in bullying. UK Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister Raab has been under fire for allegedly victimizing his civil servants in 3 different government departments. Sunak appointed senior employment lawyer Adam Tolley in November to look into 2 formal complaints filed against Raab. The Prime Minister has full confidence in Raab, but is carefully considering the findings of the report. Raab is widely expected to face dismissal if the complaints are upheld. If he does go, it would necessitate an earlier than expected cabinet reshuffle by Sunak at a sensitive juncture ahead of the May elections. He is reportedly likely to appoint a woman as Justice Secretary if he does fire Raab after criticism over the gender imbalance in key positions. In Brazil, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, top national security advisor, has resigned. This comes after a video emerged showing the aide in the presidential palace during the rioting last January 8. In the video, General Marcos Gonçalves Diaz appeared pointing out the emergency exit to the rioters. Diaz denies the accusation of facilitating the rioters' entry, saying he arrived after the rioters got inside. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin says China supports European efforts to start Russia and Ukraine peace talks. Wang believes a balanced and sustainable security framework for the continent must be created. China's statement comes after French President Emmanuel Macron enlisted Beijing's assistance to de-escalate the conflict in Ukraine. Wang says all parties must work to build mutual trust before progress can be made. He asserts negotiations should be based on Europe's fundamental long-term interests. Iran's Navy forced a U.S. submarine to resurface as it entered the Gulf. Navy Commander Shahram Irani says the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet entered Tehran waters. Irani adds the U.S. submarine corrected its course after being warned. However, the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet denied Iran's report, citing disinformation. Vietnam denounces Beijing's unilateral fishing ban on the South China Sea. Chinese authorities said a yearly fishing ban will be effective in certain sea regions from May 1 to August 18. Deputy spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Doan Kak Viet, says China is violating Vietnam's sovereignty. Viet also urged China to respect Vietnam's jurisdiction rights over the Paracel Islands. He warns China not to complicate the situation, but to contribute to peace and stability in the East Sea. In recent weeks, U.S. President Joe Biden has laid out likely themes of a re-election bid. He has done this by securing a doctor's note stating that he is fit for duty. The president has also pleaded with Democrats to reorder the party's primary calendar in a manner favoring his nomination, picking Chicago as the city where he would formally become the nominee next year. The previous Republican head of state, Donald Trump, announced his desire to enter the race for the highest public office in the country. Other top Republicans who may challenge Trump's bid include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis or former Vice President Mike Pence. The U.S. presidential election is scheduled for November 2024. U.S. President Joe Biden announces another $1 billion cash infusion for climate funding as he speaks in a virtual meeting with leaders from the world's biggest industrial nations. The Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate is the fourth such meeting organized by Biden since he became president in 2021. The White House says it is attended by officials including Chinese climate envoy Xi Jinping and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
Because climate security, energy security, food security, they're all related. They're all related. I'm calling on development banks to scale up their lending for climate change, which will also accelerate the fight against poverty.
The $1 billion contribution will be given to the Green Climate Fund. It finances efforts by richer countries to help developing economies switch to cleaner energy and build climate-resilient infrastructure. Canadian police are investigating a heist of more than $15 million in gold and other valuables. Peel Regional Police Inspector Stephen Duvestain says the gold and valuables were placed in a secured facility. Yet the cargo weighing almost 3.6 pounds went missing. Duvestain describes the case as an isolated incident. He says it is too early to tell if professional criminals are involved. Duvestain also refuses to say what airline shipped the cargo or where the load had come from and its intended destination. Local reports say the gold heist could be one of the biggest thefts in Canada's history. Up next, the United States finds Seagate over hard disk drive exports to Huawei. MyPillow CEO to pay fines after election data dispute. And in India, rescuers save a man from crevasse. Please don't go away. We've got more news from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders, Quezon City Motor Vehicle Inspection Center.
Alamin natin ang saloobin ng mga Pilipino pagdating sa reality of aging.
Nung araw, ang senior citizen, pag kumain kasama ng mga apo, ang atensyon ng apo nasa kanila. Ngayon, ang mga apo
20% ng mga senior citizens ay nakakaranas ng depression.
Madi-depression dahil sa poverty. Yung family ay medyo iba ang tingin sa matatanda pag wala kang silbi.
Sa tingin mo ba, dito sa bansa natin ngayon, sapat bang masasabi ang pag-alaga sa mga senior citizens? Kamusta nga ba ang buhay ng mga 60 years old pataas? Kamusta ba tayo? Mag-reality check tayo.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol heads to Washington on Monday to bolster military cooperation over Pyongyang's increasing nuclear weapons. Yoon's trip is the first state visit to the United States by a South Korean leader since 2011. It also marks the 70th anniversary of the country's alliance. More than 120 South Korean business executives, including Samsung chairman Lee Jae-yong, will travel with Yoon. The two leaders are also expected to discuss trade and technology partnerships. Sources say Yoon's visit may help ease worries over the Biden Inflation Reduction Act. However, analysts say Yoon's travel may push North Korea to launch a high-intensity provocation. Speculations remain high as Pyongyang says its status as a nuclear weapons state is undeniable and irreversible. Three people are dead and 4 more are missing following an overnight explosion at a coal mine in central Colombia. The explosion happened around 1 a.m. local time at a mine 90 kilometers north of the capital of Bogota. Rescue crews are on the scene. 3 bodies have been recovered. Crews managed to rescue 4 people early in the morning. The survivors have been taken to the hospital. 4 other miners remain trapped. There is a slim chance of finding them alive due to the high concentration of carbon monoxide. The gas buildup is the most common cause of mining accidents in Colombia. The country is Latin America's biggest producer of coal. Computer storage company Seagate will have to pay $300 million for unauthorized hard drive exports to Chinese company Huawei. Huawei has been blacklisted for lapses in data security by the U.S. government since 2020. Seagate continued to ship 7.4 million hard drives to Huawei for a year after the rule was imposed during Donald Trump's administration. The fine is the largest imposed penalty by the Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security. This is a result of the U.S. campaign to control technology sales with China. Special prosecutors are holding the charges against Alec Baldwin regarding the accidental shooting on the set of his movie Rust. In 2021, Baldwin shot a bullet from a pop gun during rehearsal, resulting in the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injuries to director Joel Souza. The Emmy Award-winning actor was charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter over the incident. Special prosecutors Carrie Morrissey and Jason Lewis put the charges on hold as new information comes to light. The prosecutors clarify that Baldwin isn't fully cleared and charges may be reapplied as the investigation continues. Rust movie production lawyer Melina Spadoni imposed an act requiring working weapons to be fastened. A prize of 124 pounds was offered to the youngster who could shoot the most feral felines in New Zealand. This competition encourages children to kill as many cats as possible, has been cancelled due to backlash. Critics of the North Canterbury hunting competition feared household pets could end up being targeted because children wouldn't know the difference. Animal charity SPCA says it's not possible to tell the difference between a feral, stray, or frightened domestic cat based on appearance, so there is a good chance someone's pet may be killed during this event. The competition existence is due to feral cats turning into an invasive species threatening the local ecosystem. The New Zealand government has been using various tactics to control their population. British conservative Bob Seeley warns that Russian President Vladimir Putin is scouting out ways to attack Great Britain. His concerns come after Russian vessels are spotted on the North Sea. Seeley fears Putin is looking for options to attack the West without triggering a NATO military response. He says that if Russia sabotages undersea cables in the area, he would cripple the UK if war breaks out. Brazil may surpass the United States as the world's #1 corn exporter. Brazil's national supply company data shows production is expected to hit 124.9 million tons, or about 76.3% is considered the second crop. For Brazilians, corn or safrinha is a second crop, a complementary product planted on the same plot as the first crop. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Brazil could export 53 million tons of corn this year, dethroning the U.S. 49 million tons. Researchers say for improvements to take effect in performance, Brazil must succeed in raising its investment in agricultural equipment and continue to boost its logistical infrastructure to dispose of production. Brazil's Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Marina Silva, applauds U.S. President Joe Biden for pledging $500 million for the Amazon. The pledge came in a virtual meeting with leaders from the world's biggest industrial nations. $500 million will finance work to halt commercial deforestation of the planet's biggest rainforest. Silva notes the pledge still needs U.S. Congress's approval, but she hopes this commitment will become possible.
Anunciaram uma cifra de 500 milhões de dólares. E segundo a conversa que eu tive com o secretário John Kerry, isso são apenas os inícios que estamos dos esforços, é o início dos esforços para que possamos fazer uma alavancagem, segundo ele, de algo em torno de 2 bilhões, somando todas as frentes de atuação.
MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is ordered to pay $5 million for a breach of contract regarding a U.S. election data claim. On August 2021, during his cyber symposium in South Dakota, Lindell challenged the attendees to a Prove Mike Wrong competition. Lindell promised to pay $5 million to anyone who could refute his claim that China meddled in the 2020 U.S. presidential election in favor of Joe Biden. He alleged that Donald Trump was the true winner. Software engineer Robert Zeidman approved the claim wrong after showing a 15-page document to a United States arbitration panel to inspect. The document proved that Lindell's data did not contain any information related to the November 2020 election. As a result, the panel ordered Lindell to pay Zeidman within 30 days for the winning challenge. Lindell refused, commenting the verdict was a horrible, wrong decision. The MyPillow CEO is being charged for defamation regarding his election statements by Smartmatic, a voting company, and Dominion Voting Systems, along with Eric Coomer, a former Dominion employee. Free cash is coming to Facebook users. A federal judge has tentatively approved an agreement between Meta and lawyers for U.S. Facebook users. The settlement stems from multiple lawsuits that were brought against Facebook by users who claim the company improperly shared their data with third-party sources. The litigation began after Facebook was embroiled in a privacy scandal in 2018 with Cambridge Analytica. Though Meta denies the allegations, it has nevertheless agreed to pay $725 million to settle the cases. Hence, anyone in the U.S. who used Facebook between May 24, 2007 and December 22, 2022 can file a monetary claim, but they must do it before August 25, 2023. To file the claim, one must fill out details to Facebook's legit site, or one can print out the claim and mail it to Facebook. It is still unclear as to how much money one user can get. Sources say it depends on how many people fill out the claim. Facebook says there is still a final approval hearing for the settlement on September 7. Russia believes the nuclear arsenals of United Kingdom and France are de facto under the control of the United States. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says it will be senseless to talk to Washington without taking out the issue of nuclear arsenals. Peskov explains United States, France, and Great Britain are a single integrated system of NATO. He points out the NATO bloc itself is governed by the U.S., making it a single entity. Peskov says preventing Ukraine from joining NATO remains a goal of Russia's special operation in Kyiv. The United States Veterans Affairs Department and their National Institutes of Health have begun a 5-year study on the chronic symptoms of Gulf War illness. This illness is estimated to affect up to 250,000 veterans of the 700,000 troops deployed in the Gulf War from the years 1990 to 1991. Carlo Valdez reports.
Gulf War illness is a cluster of medically unexplained chronic symptoms affecting Gulf War veterans. Symptoms include fatigue, headaches, joint pain, indigestion, insomnia, dizziness, respiratory disorders, and memory problems. The disease affects about a third of the nearly 700,000 men and women who served in the Persian Gulf during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. A research expert at the Veterans Affairs says effective treatments for Gulf War illness have remained elusive. This has forced healthcare providers to mostly just focus on easing patient symptoms. Through the study, VA and NIH's collaborations will bring together experts to investigate the underlying causes of Gulf War illness symptoms. Volunteers of the study are 1990 to 1991 era Gulf War veterans. They will be screened through the Miami VA Medical Center and the California and Washington, D.C. sites of VA's War-Related Illness and Injury Study Center. In Union, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Protests continue across France as demonstrators vent their anger about pension reforms. In Paris, a couple of hundred protesters targeted the Euronext stock exchange. Railway employees and workers from other sectors briefly invaded the lobby of the exchange in the main business district of Paris. Waving union flags and carrying flares, they shouted that President Emmanuel Macron should resign. One union leader says they targeted the exchange because that's where the money is. He says the government claims it had to raise the retirement age because there is no money to finance pensions. He says it's time to take the money from the pockets of the rich. Elsewhere in southern France, police fired tear gas and demonstrators in a small village where Macron visited the school. Striking rail workers shut down about 20% of regional train service and commuter services. An Indian man is lucky to be alive after falling down a crevasse on one of Nepal's most treacherous mountains. 34-year-old Anurag Malu had been trapped in the crevasse for 3 days before rescuers found him. It took a team of 8 people to lift him out of the 300-meter deep chasm on Mount Annapurna. Malu has been airlifted to hospital where he remains in critical condition. Annapurna is the world's 10th highest mountain. It is prone to avalanches and has a higher death rate than Everest. Nepal is home to 8 of the world's 10 tallest peaks. Each spring, hundreds of adventurers travel to the country to conquer the mountains. So far this year, the government has issued more than 700 climbing permits for various Himalayan mountains. People from various walks of life share with Net25 their Earth Day celebration ideas. Here's Marjorie Quintos with a report.
This April 22, as the world celebrates the 53rd anniversary of Earth Day, we hear from viewers across North America about ways they plan to take action in caring for our planet. Let's take a look.
I remember celebrating Earth Day in 1971 when I was in high school. Earth Day and Grow Local South Texas go hand in hand because we're protecting the environment. We do all natural gardening. All these vendors here are all natural gardeners. They don't use chemicals. They're not transporting their produce or their anything that they're selling here for long distances. Our mission is to educate, to have access, and to advocate for nutritionally dense foods that are going to create a healthy community.
And my effort to help reduce waste for Earth is just cutting down on water.
You know, Earth Day is a good reminder of the value of our planet. Recycling, using energy efficient light bulbs, keeping my car tuned up, taking unused items, to places like Goodwill and maybe even learn some new things about how to sustain the planet.
So for Earth Day, I'd like to remind people that we only have one planet. I like to think of fighting climate change as something that needs to be handled holistically, collectively, organizing with other people who within your community.
You don't like litter and stuff like that. I try to recycle as much as I can. So, I mean, not specifically on Earth Day, but like every day. I brought a tote bag, and that's one thing I've been trying to move towards, like less plastic.
We need to be responsible for the resources that we have. Creating plastics and unneeded waste is actually more harmful to our earth and the resources that we have.
So like this Earth Day, I collect bottle caps. I was doing it for like a college project. You'd like recycle bottles and stuff. And you can turn them into fairy lights, and that's just how like you keep plastic out of your beaches and stuff. So that's a way I'm gonna celebrate decorating everybody's rooms with cute little recyclable fairy lights. I think that's awesome.
I feel like we should celebrate Earth Day every day.
Love your planet. It loves you too.
And appreciate it.
Exactly.
For more ideas, visit earthday.org. Marjorie Quintos, Mata ng Agila International, Montreal, Canada. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, BuzzFeed shuts down its news arm. SpaceX test flight ends in an explosion. And Twitter purges legacy verified checkmarks. Catch the latest in business, sports, and entertainment when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Sa mahal ng bilihin, talagang mapapaisip tayo kung paano makakatipid. Bukod sa mga gastusin sa bahay, isa ring inaalala ang pagtitipid sa konsumo ng gasolina para sa ating mga sasakyan. In other countries, there are fuel-saving products that made the buzz with its marketing claims of additional mileage per gallon. Let us find out more about these products in today's episode with Govi Philippines, the distributor of Go Fuel tablets.
The technology behind our product actually won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1973.
Nagiging fuel efficient yung sasakyan at nakakatulong po tayo sa preservation ng ating environment.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Here's to another farm venture. Hatid ng Ito ang Tahanan. Tara na at samahan kaming mamasyal sa Amadeo, Cavite. Join us, relax, eat, and laugh for a fun-filled weekend this Saturday on Net 25 at Ito ang Tahanan.
BuzzFeed announces it is shutting down its news division as part of layoffs, signaling the end of one of the most notable news websites of the internet era. CEO Jonah Peretti admits he is partly at fault for the closure. The company cites challenges of recession in the tech sector and the struggling stock market. In a memo, Peretti writes that the company is reducing workforce of 15% and beginning to process the closing of BuzzFeed News. The CEO says the company can no longer continue to fund BuzzFeed News as a standalone organization. He adds that the company would offer some jobs at HuffPost and BuzzFeed.com to new staff members. The shutdown is the latest to rock the U.S. media landscape as outlets battle with falling reader numbers and lower advertising revenue. BuzzFeed News was founded in late 2011 and became a symbol of a new wave of internet media companies. A rough day for SpaceX as it launched the most powerful rocket ever built for its first flight. 4 minutes after a successful liftoff Thursday, Starship exploded over the Gulf of Mexico. The spacecraft blew up after the first stage rocket booster failed to separate. Despite the failure of the craft to complete a 90-minute test flight, SpaceX boss Elon Musk declares it a success. He says they learned a lot to help them get ready for the next test flight in a few months. Musk adds Thursday's test flight will help them improve Starship's reliability. It has been selected by NASA to transport astronauts to the moon, Mars, and beyond. Starship consists of a 50-meter tall spacecraft that carries the crew and cargo. It sits atop a 70-meter tall first stage booster. Twitter has begun the mass removal of its legacy verified blue ticks on Thursday. The site has taken a significant step by initiating the removal of blue ticks from high-profile individuals. Those affected include former President Donald Trump, pop stars Beyoncé and Justin Bieber, NBA superstar LeBron James, and even includes former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey. The website stresses the option to keep the blue badges at a monthly fee of $8. As a response to Twitter has started rolling out gray checks to signify official government pages. Many have attributed this move due to his $44 billion investment in the site dwindling. Netizens claim that the Twitter purge intends to make up for the billions of losses caused by the Starship failure. According to Musk, this move gets rid of the lords and peasants system that he believed the blue ticks represented. In the 2023 NBA playoffs, Philadelphia, Golden State, and Phoenix each got Game 3 wins. The Philadelphia 76ers survived an intense matchup against the Brooklyn Nets 102-97. Tyrese Maxey led the Sixers with 25 points with 5 made three-pointers to help the Sixers get a commanding 3-0 series lead. Stephen Curry led the Golden State Warriors for a win against the Sacramento Kings 114-97, cutting the Kings series lead 2-1. Curry led the Warriors with 36 points without their suspended defense specialist Draymond Green. Green served his suspension in Game 3 because of the stomp incident to Sacramento's Domantas Sabonis in Game 2. Meanwhile, Phoenix Suns' Devin Booker led the Game 3 win against the Los Angeles Clippers 129-124. He scored 45 points, outlasting Norman Powell's 42 for LA. LA Clippers Kawhi Leonard did not play for Game 3 because of his right knee sprain. In Las Vegas, the National Association of Broadcasters celebrates its 100th year at the NAB Show 2023. Joining the celebrations is Net 25's Anna Cui. Take a look.
NAB Show 2023 marks its centennial year, and organizers highlights its history with this timeline display right behind me. The NAB Show was first held at the Commodore Hotel in New York in 1923. It first came to Las Vegas in 1975 and became its annual host in 1991. According to NAB officials, the show's 100th show anniversary allows NAB to not only reflect on the past, but also to figure out how to help industry members in the future. And innovation and service to local communities is key. Although competition for users and revenue dollars is fierce with tech giants such as Amazon Prime and Spotify, NAB CEO Legeet says broadcast is unique in that it covers news at the street level. The pandemic is behind us, but no doubt did it leave behind lessons learned from the challenges it came with. It was a reminder of the great role local broadcasters play in the communities and how quickly they were able to pivot to continue to deliver news through remote broadcast productions.
We invented our first box during the pandemic as a way to continue filming. So we have figured out how to remotely control lights, cameras, microphones, everything you need for a shoot over the internet.
There was a strong demand from the marketplace for an all-in-one box. People were using every kind of solution you can think of, from multiple iPhones to putting laptops up on crates. But there's some productions where you do not want to compromise on quality, right? Where the webcam look or the iPhone look isn't what you're looking for in a top flight production. And that's where the ability to use a real camera, 1080i or 4K broadcast quality PTZ camera comes in.
But now the challenge continues with the popularity of AI technology and the concern of some that it will make certain jobs in the broadcast industry obsolete. Industry experts say AI technology is still emerging and it will take time to reach the level of accuracy that the broadcast industry needs and requires. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui, reporting from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Now that it's the weekend, what better way to relax than with a movie? Stephanie Mayo has her pick for what to watch.
Tetris, the popularity of which exploded in the late 80s and 90s, is a timeless classic computer game that made billions of people around the world addicted to it. Now, streaming platform Apple TV Plus released an original movie called Tetris, starring Taron Egerton, to show car chase in the streets of Moscow.
The one that is waiting for us. And if what awaits is actually what we have planned, then that is the best thing. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Nina Richie Yalago Flores, asking you to have a great weekend and take care of yourselves. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.